Welcome to kcheebplays, Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. Let's get started. Hi, Cheeb here. Welcome to my playthrough of the Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic on the Fjordland map. This will be a wrap-up and things I learned session. I'm trying to keep it down to around about a half an hour or so, somewhere in that range. I don't know that there's a whole bunch else that needs to be talked about, but there's a few things that I do want to talk about. And first off, let me thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this. One thing that I do want to get dealt with while I'm yammering on about some other things is getting a excuse me. I'm gonna have to find it. Want to get a city. Oh, it's going to be in here. Maintenance, city hall, and accounting office in here. There's quite a few. I overpopulated this city and really need to get that sorted out. So, I just want to get this. Could go in there. Needs flat terrain. Just gonna quickly pause this because I'm fighting it. Imagine that. Need to have it close enough to get so where people can come to work. Could have scoped. I thought this would be a little simpler to fit up here. This is hard. Pretty sure I don't have any, excavators. And I'm quite sure that if I go back that direction, we're not going to be in a situation where it's going to work. Okay, let's see. Yeah. Those are we used this one already. A town hall. Wonder why these ones have visitors. Don't need anything crazy. Commissar's office. There's a post office. A few more than 15 would be good, but I do like the let's see. Oh, there we go. Does that make sense? Are we lined up? Yeah, okay, that works out. I think that'll be fine. As long as I don't try to squeeze too much in there. We'll get this running again. And a footpath. Oh, we can do that. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Next question is no. Of course not. Why would that be the case? Get some materials delivered and everything. Hopefully this is done so we can come back when we get to the piece of looking at all of our cities and just what's happening with them, and also going to go through a little economy look. yeah, we're this should be getting ready to head out here shortly. Anyway, we don't need to get into the let's play. Let's go do some stuff back where it started here. As far as starter cities, I was quite happy with this one. Even though it's probably a little too close for all the pollution that's being generated in this area. You can see that I wouldn't say I necessarily cheated, but wanted to try to keep, that's less than 400 meters there. This will be probably, let's just clear that from here. In would be in the, whoops, got to activate it. Yeah, 400 meters, which is, I think most people would agree that that's the absolute minimum, and I certainly didn't respect that very, very well. And to make matters even worse, we've got the rest of these polluting industries, close as well. So that's it was one of those crimes of opportunity, if you will. The resources were just so close, and needing the people was drove where it went. And I think you can see in here where we have 19% pollution. It's a little on the high side. We got a decent average lifespan, and welcome to winter, yay. But I would try to space things out a little bit more, make sure that, and especially when if I started building my construction industries again, I certainly wouldn't have them anywhere near as close to the city. Just you want your people to live as long as they can, so they can keep producing for you. That's the thing. Now, buildings. Sorry, City Hall. Just to go over, it's the university. There we are. Some of the things. Now, I don't use the City Hall that much, and I may have to become a little bit more familiar with it. And you can see in this city the average lifespan is much lower due to the pollution that we have here. But we've got a pretty steady number of people. Birds far outstrip our deaths and escapes. Well, maybe not far, but they it can sustain itself is basically what I'm talking about with that. So these graphs are not the most useful. I mean, you can food here is always taken care of. We don't have too many people with alcohol addiction. This is the population statistics. You can see the things that they're producing and the value. Kind of interesting, importing of the resources. Electronics and electronic components. We're still doing that, but over time, this was the buildup of that. I don't know that we can change that, but domestic production. This is an overall number, so I'm kind of learning a little bit as we go here, so that I can speak somewhat intelligently of that. Later on, when we get to some of the bigger cities, our industries. This plant here powered, the Meadzal and Bramskis as well. So Some interesting numbers there. Our crime and justice. This city never really saw that bad a wave that I saw through the middle in Kiamnov. That was certainly not a great situation, but over time, we did have some issues, and most of those were early on. This city was fairly stable. Excuse me, I just got a little coffee to take a sip of. But, I mean, all things said, this city served its purpose, got us up and running, kept things going. We've got, we're able to produce steel in not necessarily huge quantities, but more than enough to provide the needs to continue, to jump into the, rail world, and we got some farming land set up here. All good. Now, what are we looking at? Oh, that's the courthouse. I thought there's the... We'll have a peek at Meadzol, which was the first, of the larger cities, basically twice the size of wow, Bramsky. The production, is this current production, I guess? Or is that consumption? That's I'm not sure. This is importing, so I need to find out where. Oh, import. Oh, those must have just been some of the auto builds that were done over time. Production. Interesting that we wouldn't have to look a little bit closer at some of these numbers and what they really mean, because obviously we've got this whole area here with our oil and our trees, wood, lumber, not just trees. This was a city that saw a little bit of trouble with our crime and justice. We got it sorted. It wasn't nearly as bad as Kiamnov. We've also got our bauxite area up here. This was a direct result of needing, could probably get away with maybe just one of those. A tough call there. You'd have to. It's nice to have a good ratio of wardens to prisoners, just to keep that under control, or at least rehabilitate everyone. I'm just gonna go through the cities first. I don't need to talk about everything that they're doing and what's happening and all that kind of stuff. We'll come back to some of the other things I learned. It's primarily going to be around rail and delivery of resources and how all that happens, and some of the stuff that was a little bit eye-opening to me. At any rate, 10,000, just a little bit smaller than Meadzol, but productivity, good lifespan, bursts far outstripping the deaths and escapes, even with this low percentage building. I think it was 82%, which I didn't realize at the time. I typically don't use that kind of building, just because I don't like to hamstring myself if I don't have to, and but I liked the look of that building and went with the look first, and then realized afterwards, and then they were built. I was going to replace them at one point, but the way my playthrough was working, it wasn't really necessary for me to, just based off of normal reactions versus harsh reactions for citizens. So and go through the resource status. Now I think what I'm kind of cluing into what this is the resources that are available for this city, and what's being consumed. I don't know how that helps me. Chime in if you have ideas or thoughts about that. Importing, again, we were at that situation where I had to throw the safety net out more than once. But I think it's under control now. And I said that out loud, so guaranteed we're going to be in a situation where it won't be under control. Just get rid of some of those messages. And our criminality, under control now. Definitely under control. You can see in here that I think the worst one that when I looked through these before was down around 4%, and this city was in that 12 to 14%. Probably averaged around 10. Some of the buildings were worse off than others, but yeah, we finally got this back under control. Is 3% ideal? Probably not. I would prefer to see things around 2%, but again, that's just a situation of trying to get it recovered and back down and to a reasonable amount. I don't know that I have. Yeah, I don't. A city hall in perspective. That'd be kind of interesting. We can look at the citizens' happiness. They're okay. These guys back here, although they can get to wherever they need to get to in terms of material, we've got this shop here, and it's just two different stops. So I don't know if that's an issue. Yeah, you can see that they don't have any issue getting there, but that one's been perpetually lagging behind the rest of them. We're doing reasonably well for our tourism area. I haven't spent a whole bunch of time on tourism. I mean, I'm over the time span that I've played. So I'm guessing these are reasonable numbers. They should be able to get to just about anywhere they need to get to. Whether they do or not, I'm going to say is up to them. Now, this was another experiment of mine. Let me see if we've got a city hall here. There is one. Okay, good. So we can have a look at some more of the numbers. This city only was to provide workers for our construction. As construction, kind of wound down, our unemployment is probably going to be a little bit higher. Yeah, definitely, because they just don't have we're not doing any construction at this point other than the city hall. But I quite like the fact that there was always workers available. Helicopters very rarely, and also the ground-based guys very rarely ever were in a situation of not being able to provide workers when we needed workers. So it's probably something that I would do again, especially if I was going to have kind of a central area that was going to be responsible for all of my construction, because it just seemed to work out. There was, like I said, there was always people that were working in the asphalt and cement, as well as having people available for the construction. 3,000. I don't know if it was oversized or not. you could split hairs and say, one of those buildings probably doesn't need to be there, but then the symmetry goes away. So, it is what it is. Importing of resources. Let's have a quick look. So we never had to throw the safety net out here. They always had all the materials that they wanted, needed, food. In terms of the domestic stuff. Crime was never a real big issue, mostly because this was built after. And we're at 3% on, and 4% even. Interesting. I want to get through these last two cities, so just so I can talk about some of the other things, and then the Republic as a whole. 7,800. This one could actually be a little bit larger. They're really both down at our aluminum area, as well as in our vehicle construction area. We're not running near capacity for workers. In fact, we're about a quarter of what we need most times. So bumping the population up here by about 50%, and possibly even reworking this, but I'll get back to that a little bit later. But 7,800, not nearly big enough if you want to go full on 100% factory production. But it works, and we get the materials or the products that we need. Excuse me, cheers, a little coffee. Again, our bursts far outstripping our deaths and our escapes. Overall, quite happy. Food, get enough hospital action, all that stuff. So everything's there that needs to be there. Import, we kept that to a minimum as well for this city, just because it was, for whatever reason, and I'll get into that a little bit later. They got all the materials that they needed. Again, I got to try to figure out most of those numbers, but we've done pretty well here, 3-4%. Not really any serious crime issues. Could have probably, let's have a peek and see. Again, this is what am I doing wrong here? Okay. I was looking for police stations. So we have 2. Are they overworked? Probably not. Oops. They're, they've got all the vehicles. There's no backlogs. There's no, these guys don't, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what that was. I know most of the cities I build don't have road access. I don't know if that affects the police in terms of being able to react to things, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, honestly, and I know I'm not providing you with a whole lot of information. So I didn't mean this to be like a deep dive into the numbers and everything else that's involved with that. Everything's here. We should be able to let that happen, and then we should be able to get. We'll have to come back and look at that. So the first thing I wanted to talk about that I learned and will take forward into sorry about the clouds, into my future games is rail and handling rail, and not relying completely on a multi-purpose kind of rail network. And what I mean by multi-purpose is you're delivering resources and people on the same line. That's that will work to a point, and it did, right up until I got around this corner, and we got all this industry built, and we had to have so many trains running back and forth. And even now, you can see just with the materials that we were delivering, how busy it is. And if we took one of our passenger trains or one lines and threw it on there, the workers wouldn't be able to get to where they needed to go. So absolutely the idea of splitting your rail or your passenger and material lines is without a doubt something that you to have an efficient, well-run network where things can get to where they need to go in a timely manner. Just super important. Could not run this republic without that the changes that were made in the mid-season. Would I set this up again like this? Well, again, this was another one of those crimes of opportunity, if you will. There was just so many resources here and people to get to work. You had to have the construction here because we were way too far away from Bramsky's construction office to even make a go of building anything further that direction. So we built this and then built the city, and the oil that we had here was our first foray into oil. Started providing bitumen and fuel for the Republic, and this was a reaction to the unemployment that we had here, and let's get a few more people working, and another resource ticked off that we didn't have ticked off the chart, if you will, that we didn't have to buy from the border anymore. So it's busy and very kind of overbuilt. So I'm just looking at how this was laid out, and did it have to be done this way? I'm not sure. There's a number of different ways. There's a lot of double track that was probably not necessary. At any rate, it functions. If it was any busier than it is, it would probably start to break down, but thankfully it's not. Again, I kind of crammed a whole bunch of industries into this area, which necessitated, or in my mind, necessitated me the rail situation that I got. And this is much cleaner than it was when I first built it. It was almost beyond functioning, just with the blockages and the backing up of trains. Couldn't rely on deliveries of food, meat, and the rest of it. But this was, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a mistake, but it's not optimum by any stretch. This intersection here is just, when everything lines up, can cause backups down this way, and we still see it. So that would be something I would revisit. I mean, there's huge coal deposit here. Did I have to build my food industries right here? No, I didn't. But again, this was decisions that were made, and you just roll with it. So, but we do have everything separated here. Our passenger and rail delivery, so that's a thing. Did a similar thing with the rework, and that was a really interesting project for me, the rework of this, to separate out as much as I could, and got into our metro land here, which was nice because the separation became easy. Building it wasn't easy, but the separation became easy because you go underground, and and away you go. You're not on the rail line. There's some other issues that came up more than once, but ultimately, I think it's a useful tool. It's interesting, and it's a pretty decent way to move a lot of people to your industries. So the rail from here, I would have liked to rework this whole area, but at the time that it came to do that, I was pretty much done with reworking rail. I'd spent probably the better part of a month and a half babysitting track builders that were not cooperating all the time. Part of it my own signaling, part of it that's just the way the game works. This would definitely be better if we had the one line in. We had a line off of our metro over here, feed the rail where it needs to go, and then loop back out and give it two directions that they can go from there. So again, things I learned and will incorporate in my next playthrough. This I quite like. This is where everything flows. I just don't ever remember seeing backups of trains in this area, because of the fact that they come in and they go out, and that's it. They just deliver everything else. Everything that needs to be delivered is from this side, and it just works. Same situation for the food that we need to drop off here. They come in, they go out, done. Don't need anything fancier than that. Did set up a double line in here because at the time I wasn't sure that one track in was going to be enough. If two trains of different train load of food and waiting to be unloaded because we're unloading some electronics. But at any rate, same kind of idea here. You roll in here, roll out that way. Keeps your main line moving. Again, there isn't a whole bunch of traffic on this line, but it works. We rarely see, or I rarely see, anything happening there. This metro, I would definitely do this differently. I don't. This two stations. I was intending, before I fully knew all of the metro, that the way the metro worked, have this platform feeding this side and this platform feeding that side for workers. In reality, you need a place for them to turn around, and the only place that I could do the turnaround was down here, which we had for a short time. But I would have needed a second one from this side, and we're above ground here, so you can't branch off of that. We'd have to branch down here, and just the waste that's there. Waste in terms of time for them to travel here and then come back so that they could pick up workers from here. Looks cool. I think it functions reasonably well. Having the metros running back and forth. Is it the worst? I don't know. It certainly could be better, and I think just having the one station here, I mean, these stations can keep, can accommodate so many people that it's the numbers wouldn't have been an issue by any stretch. And these trains are all 500-ish, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 500. It can handle 500 people, so one station would have been more than enough here, for sure. And I'll definitely keep that in mind. But it was an idea. I went through with it and made it work, ish. All right, and this is kind of again, the same kind of thing. I call it roll in, roll out. Whether that's the right terminology or not, I'm not 100% sure. Excuse me, a little coffee. but keeps our main line clear. They come, they branch off. They don't have to cross over a line coming back this way. They can come in and drop off where they need to, pick up where they need to. This was a bit of an afterthought for export down at our container harbor. Something else that I would look at. I mean, this all functions pretty well. We don't have. I mean, we've got more than enough aluminum oxide, and we are dwindling down the amount of aluminum because of the exports. But I wouldn't keep this. I mean, I could up the capacity here. We've always got a train waiting here to unload. So when he unloads and is finished, I could have run another unload or put a bigger unload station, one that has two lines, so they could both sit in the station. Might have been better. Really, the only thing it would have accomplished would have been cutting down on the number of messages that I received. So this area, same kind of concept. In this side, out this side, away we go kind of thing. Again, I think I talked about it before. I'm super happy with the way the ship shuttles are working, and they're actually going away with people. So we're definitely delivering more people than we can deal with here. But there's far too many harbors, container harbors here. They do get loaded eventually, but I think having these, and maybe it's a supply issue. I don't know. I mean, we have basically nothing here to package. So these guys are just sitting here waiting. One ship would probably be more than enough. And then when it took off, they could, hopefully we would have more deliveries of materials to get packaged. Same kind of scenario here. We're just doing the alcohol and the clothes. At this point, I was unsure whether I had the food issue solved. Meat, same kind of scenario. I think this is a meat train coming now. So that, it just don't have quite the volume of materials coming in that I would like. So this is weird. Why there's any steel or aluminum in here, I don't know. It's all supposed to be over here. And yeah, we're getting steel dropped off, so that's cool. Plenty loaded on here. They're all, 100 million rubles. That's a lot. Like this, I'd do it a little bit differently. Maybe do it with just two, and do a better job of providing the resources. Obviously, that's. I like this area. I like it because it's a challenge. It's complicated, not overly complicated, but it's complicated enough, and it forced me to think my way through and lean on my friends to ask questions about how it needs to be done and what's wrong and how do we make this work. We have a city hall. Cool. Happiness is rising. That's good. Got all the food that we need. A few too many unemployed workers. That's if I hadn't built and these two based off of a reaction, a knee-jerk reaction, I think we would have been about the right numbers. But it's it was an interesting city to build and to to provide workers for our container area. Again, I'm not 100% sure at what our numbers are. Oh, didn't come to the crime scene. Why is that? Because we've only got 4 cars, possibly. Again, those are things that you can manage reasonably well in terms of buying more vehicles or moving vehicles back to road vehicle depots or that kind of thing. How many you need, how many people you need working there, and what settings you're on. Because if you're on harder reactions, you're definitely not gonna. It's not going to be quite as forgiving or as what I'm running here. Anyway, I've kind of rambled on. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, I rely on rail so much. First of all, it's fun. I do enjoy it. But you can move a lot of stuff around, and from an export perspective, especially, I don't know if you late early game, early mid game, to try to get to the next level in terms of building and being self-sufficient and having enough money. Rail, from a volume perspective, is about the way to go. And honestly, steel is still one of the number one from a volume perspective and money perspective ways to go. Just in terms of, it's going to happen. It's going to be done. It will change your economy. Exporting steel by trains change this economy once we had the steel up and running, and then we could take off. And from that point, it was pretty much build what you want, plan it, build it, go kind of thing. So, got off on a tangent. Imagine that. And I just looked over, and I know I'm already 40 minutes in. So, where I was trying to head to was I underestimated the effectiveness of vehicles. Initially, I was using trains to bring chemicals from clouds, chemicals from here to where they were needed. Wasn't really necessary. Especially for the volumes, the lower volume stuff, trucks, as long as you're not going from one side of your republic to another, they'll deal with it. I was amazed. I was always of the opinion that trucks were used in cities to deliver materials. That's what they did for your shops, for your pubs, for that kind of stuff. And that's how I set up a lot of my republic. But they can be effectively used to get the materials where they need to go. Again, if it's a high volume thing, you're probably looking at trains, because unless you want to put 100 trucks on, the trains will be able to deal with that situation much better. Lower volume stuff, yeah, you can deal with it with trucks without too much of an issue. Something else I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry for dragging this on, because I do want to get into the actual economy itself. This tab here, Frankie Berlin asked about running through something like that, and I certainly will. But distribution offices, especially for your key resources, these train distribution offices, if you're supplying food, meat, clothing, alcohol, just do that with one distribution office. As soon as you start throwing other things in there, you're going to end up in situations like I did, where I was running short all the time because the trains have a limited capacity. And if they're off running steel down to a job site or to a construction zone or a construction area, they're not delivering food or meat for you, which are key happiness commodities. So that overloading and having weight differing tasks for them, which to me just means you got to build way more of these if you're going to try to keep it under control. Something else that I wanted to so many things. This helicopter area and Copty's walkthrough for me of how to set these up. That's going to stick with me forever. This, not necessarily this layout, but the ratios, where you have 3 construction helicopters, and in my case, I've got 2 construction. This is people, but these are delivering materials and some of our excavators and those kind of things. But every single one of these, if we need a ton of asphalt, all 6 of these helicopters can go land at our asphalt plant and not have to hover and use fuel. That's the reason for having these. If I had a third one, I would want to have a third pad here so that if we ended up in that situation, we would have no helicopters hovering and wasting fuel waiting for their turn in line. Just a key concept from Copty that he drove home, and I absolutely believe in now. We got the same scenario for cement, and places where it's not as many materials. In this case, electrical components and mechanical components, you can get away with 3 because you're never going to need all 6 helicopters bringing those materials. Our other stuff, this make sure. Anyway, that's Copty was invaluable, and this helicopter setup is so efficient. You give them a job, boom, done. Love it. All right. I've quickly gone over. That's the key points. I thought it would take me much less time, but we should get into some of our economy and trade. And I think initially I'll be looking at overall our export of resources. Number 1, it's still steel. It's the big money maker. Coal is a volume situation. Mechanical components, it's price. Aluminum oxide, same kind of scenario. We haven't, obviously mechanical components we've been exporting much longer than we have aluminum oxide. The food that we exported, again, it's an expensive commodity, and probably contributed a little bit to some of the shortages of food we had. You saw me kind of in either the last episode or the episode before where I stumbled across, oh my goodness, these guys are actually exporting food, and I'm running my citizens shy on food. So be aware. Anyway, again, expense. We stopped, went through the middle part of it. We're exporting again once we get one of our ships out. Interesting thing to look at. We've just started with aluminum. It really is not. I think we've only had 1 ship deliver any of the aluminum, maybe 2. Gravel's been an ongoing. Not sure why that stopped. Probably me messing around with. Thought we were exporting gravel by ship. At any rate, our cement, we're just making that happen. Stopped exporting fuel. I'm gonna have to look at that because I didn't think we'd stopped. We should be exporting fuel. Interesting. Fabric, we've just started up again. Clothing should be back on track, and plastics. We did a little bit of plastics, but not a whole bunch. We can go last year. Steel, that's our train exports that have stopped. I think we may end up, I'll have to go back and look. The aluminum oxide, fits and starts. It's all good. Coal's just an ongoing. Aluminum we've just started up, and it does look like we've only had the one. Food has stopped now, so we should be in a much better situation. And if I were to continue this playthrough, I'd monitor that and see about ramping that back up again. But I honestly don't see fuel on here, and I think I should. maybe that, I don't know. I'm trying to see where. Yeah, we've got fuel exports to the west that are ongoing. Why wouldn't we have to our Soviet bloc? Well, that would be something that, again, if I were to continue on with it, this playthrough. Import, 2 biggies, right there. The crops was part of the safety net. A little bit of food that I think is all done and dealt with now. The power was me forgetting to turn off after I had the little power scare. These were the rest of this stuff is all auto builds. These are the three, and it's really just these two electronic components that we're importing at this point. Vehicles exported, 160 million. Well, I think a lot of that's that is it the Aleutian? No. 29 million. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the foreign manpower. Trying to think of where that came from. Unless, obviously, it could have been very well have been the auto builds affect that number. No immigrants invited in this last year. Our tourism, this is in 1 year with those. That's still a pretty fair chunk of change. Our domestic production and consumption. Last year, pretty good number. I think that's our cash. Yeah, this is all the production. Again, I don't spend a lot of time on in these charts. I know that when you have problems, they can be useful. Wow, those are mirrors of each other, just almost bang on 10%. 10%. This could be an interesting one to watch over time. Average cost of one workday. The current prices, I don't know if this is interesting. Wow. Look at the prices of aluminum. These have been, I don't know if those are driven up, but 2018, and we're 378,000 rubles to buy. Crazy. That's some pretty serious numbers. Yeah, nuclear. That's would have been something to get into. Loans, no loans. Tourism, 2.8. Probably a little low. I know you can use water depending on where you place your buildings and your attractions to up it, and maybe it's partly how much things they couldn't get, how happy they were, ended prematurely. Excuse me for the coffee. It's very good. Tourist returned. don't know if that has to do with how many seats or how much they were available, or whether they had a room or not. Tourist died. Ooh, we got a little minor crime surge going on. Medium crime starting to go back up. So again, this is just leveled out. Again, this is things that you need to keep an eye on. Just plain and simple. You can't take it for granted, because it will bring your republic down. Population statistics overall. It's a growing. There just that whole cycle of babies, children, and then 21 plus. I could build a city of 700, and it would be populated right away, just by having these 21 pluses living, because they want out of mom and dad's place. Happiness has been well, let's watch this. It's been an up and down ride, but we're back on the upswing, so that's good. Food's gonna be, whoa, that's a lot. I'm kind of bogging down a bit here. Did I just lock up the here we go. Okay. Okay, I'll do that over here. Pretty steady. Nothing, a few dips here and there, and that was a lot of those situations. The government loyalty dropped off because you don't feed people, they're going to be less loyal. Starting to drop in here now. Just a steady line. Culture really didn't do too much other than make stuff available. And the radio and television stations I haven't changed them. Haven't fussed too much about them. Clothing quality, again, I don't even know that we can affect this other than shortages. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. We're pretty close to an hour, and that's a lot of talking. I don't know if there was a lot of good information or not, but anyway, I want to thank Uliki, Kayamaya, and Chris Brammer for getting me to get out of my comfort zone and give this a try. I really didn't think I'd end up enjoying it as much as I do, but I really do. And without their nudging, I honestly wouldn't have done that. So thank you. I appreciate you. Don't get to see Chris as much as we used to, but I know you're out there, and thank you. Hopefully you do come back to Workers and Resources at some point. That would be very cool. Kaya's just a wealth of information. If you have questions, or you need to know how something works or why it works that way, ask. She'll know the answer, and if she doesn't, she'll make a how-to on on that question and answering it. She's just that kind of person. Uliki, heart of gold, just loves playing games, loves Workers and Resources, makes all kinds of resources available for the people on his Discord. Come by, hang out. It's a fun place. This isn't the only game we're playing. We definitely play other games. Right now we've got a couple of things that are on the go. There's some Satisfactory being played on a server that Uliki's got set up, and we're playing some Astroneer as well. So anyway, Rambling, rambling, rambling. Thank you, my friends. I appreciate you more than you'll know. Time to wrap this up. This is the last you'll see of my Fjordland map, and we'll be on to another adventure probably in the next couple of weeks. I just got a couple things to get sorted out, and should be able to get started up on my next Let's Play. Thank you very much. Again, I appreciate the time you take out of your day to watch and listen to me blather on. Have yourself a wonderful day. Cheers.